It's always good to know what you're talking about, isn't it? Recently, a high-profile professional basketball player, NBA player, was ejected from a playoff game because of an unsportsmanlike offense. So he kind of swipes hard down at the ball, a guy holding the ball, and as he hits him, he also comes across his face a little bit, and so he gets this ejection penalty for that. But some are saying, some media voices, internet voices are saying that he really should have gotten the lesser penalty because there didn't appear to be any intent. It looked like he didn't go and push the guy. He didn't go and hit the guy directly. It looked like he was just hitting the ball really hard and happened to get his face perhaps incidentally. What they apparently don't realize is that the rule has nothing to do with intent. The rule is stated that this is the penalty for unnecessary and excessive contact, and that's it. So if one were to think that intent should be part of this process, then one should be less upset about the officiating and more upset about the rule itself. Now, some critics of the Bible don't always know what they're talking about when they say that there is a contradiction. The story of David and Goliath is familiar. It's a story that we all know. The account is pretty detailed in 1 Samuel 17. It describes how David, who would become king, fought and killed this Philistine warrior giant named Goliath. But maybe you didn't know that 2 Samuel chapter 21 says Elhanan, son of Jaare-Oregim, killed Goliath the Gittite, who had a spear with a shaft like a weaver's rod. So the description is about identical to the Goliath of 1 Samuel. So very hard to say, well, it's just a different Goliath. So who did it? Who actually killed Goliath? Now there are a few outlandish explanations, like, well, maybe Goliath was resurrected, and so he was able to be killed by both of them, actually. Or maybe David was also called Elhanan, and maybe David's father Jesse was also called Jaare-Oregim. But the simplest explanation here is that, really the simplest explanation is that what was originally written is no longer extant, and that the copies that we have of this account contain an error. Not that it was originally an error, but the copies that we now have contain an error. And the reason that that's likely is because there's a parallel account. So we really have three accounts here. There's 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel is where David kills Goliath with all the details. 2 Samuel is kind of this epilogue that recounts a bunch of different details and kind of mentions in passing, oh, by the way, it was Elhanan who killed Goliath. The parallel account to that from 1 Chronicles chapter 20 says that Elhanan killed Lami, the brother of Goliath. And without getting into all the Hebrew details, it does make a lot of sense how you would get from that and copy it incorrectly and then arrive at what the 2 Samuel account says. So, just like knowing the rules and the language of basketball, when there's something that comes up that is challenging in the Bible, it's good to know the overall context. And it's also good sometimes, one of the things you can do is take a look at the original language. Take a look at the Hebrew or the Greek. Sometimes there are nuances there that can clarify things. Sometimes it's a question of translation or of which manuscript. And that can help you along a little bit. I'm Pastor Clinton. God bless your efforts to learn from His truth.